They did.
They did.
Yeah. So let me start with this. Cowboys got Andy Dalton. Let's spend about 5 minutes on that. Andy Dalton, who's solid. I don't think he's significantly better or worse than Dak Prescott, is now a Cowboy quarterback. He is a backup quarterback. But I think what's happening is Dak's agents are playing. Todd France is playing a game of chicken, and Jerry Jones isn't budging. And he said, all right, we've made you 2 offers, Dak. $31 million, franchise for a year. You can make a lot of money. Dallas Cowboy quarterback. You're not getting those commercials nationally without it. No state tax, $31 million. Here it is. Or the 4-year deal reportedly offered by the Cowboys, which is good, very good for Dak's ability. And they've said no. And so they're like, all right, we'll get somebody that's comparable to you. Dan Orlovsky, a former NFLer, was on Twitter this weekend. He works for the other place. And he said first 4 years when Andy Dalton played are the same as the first 4 years Dak played, and he's not wrong. It should be noted, those were the best offensive lines Andy Dalton had in his career. Andrew Whitworth was protecting his backside. When Andy had good offensive lines, his numbers looked like Dak. What do the Cowboys have? A way above average offensive line, and similarly to Dalton and Cincinnati early, pretty darn good weapons. This is a game of chicken. And again, remember this, is that in baseball, there's no salary cap. So you can pay people what you think they deserved, some of it off what they've already done. But in salary cap leagues, it's different. You pay people on what you project going forward. And Dak Prescott, you can look at the numbers. We'll put them up on FS1. Dak Prescott was bad last year against New England, bad against Philadelphia, bad against playoff teams. So if you're going to pay him in baseball, you don't have salary cap restrictions. You can pay a guy on what you think he could do. And you know what? Here's what he did for us. Can't do that in football. Very difficult to do that in basketball, or you end up in salary cap hell like the New York Knicks are perpetually in. They pay people off what they've done, not what they're going to do. And so I look at this as a game of chicken. Don't kid yourself. Mike McCarthy, head coach formerly of Green Bay and now of Dallas. So Mike McCarthy, when you wake up with a supermodel for all those years, Favre and Aaron Rodgers, and then after a while you wake up with just a model, Dak. You remember when he signed with the Cowboys and how long it took for him to even call Dak? This is a coach who has worked with the best of the best. Unique Aaron Rodgers arm. Unique transformational Favre talent. Now he's got Dak. They didn't reach out to him. His fingerprints are all over this baby. Let's bring in Andy Dalton. Looks about the same level of talent. I honestly think athletically, Andy Dalton and Dak aren't special. Arm, they're not special. They're good, leadership qualities, durable. Dak's a little better athlete. Dalton, I could argue, may have a slightly better arm. I'm not sure. You could ask a scout on that. But it feels like a game of chicken to me. It feels like Dallas has made, 2 legitimate offers. I also think you get into this. Colin, Dak is a winner. If I said, what's Dak's greatest strength? He's a winner. Well, Trubisky, using that, is a winner. 19-10. Mark Sanchez, first 2 years in the league, was a winner. Tim Tebow was a winner. You have to have discretion beyond he's a winner. If you think Dak's great because he's a winner and you're defending Cam Newton doesn't win enough. You got to have discretion above he's a winner. You know, coaches like Andy Reid moved off Alex Smith. They don't win a Super Bowl if Andy Reid doesn't make that move. Alex Smith was a winner. The Kansas City Chiefs won a Super Bowl because Andy Reid moved off a winner. But the very best GMs, the best scouts, the best head coaches, you have to have discretion. Is he winning because he's pulling the team, or the team is pulling him? And in Dak's case, I think we know the answer. So the Last Dance was last night. And there was a lot of different elements. They went in on the gambling. They also went in on Michael Jordan being apolitical. And they told the story about, in where Michael grew up. Jesse Helms had a regrettable history, and there was an African-American candidate running, and Michael did not go out and endorse him. Now, Michael did acknowledge that he was willing to donate, or his mom was, to the campaign, but he didn't want to go out and actively endorse him. And this is the interesting thing about this. Why do we make athletes be politicians? Now, I'm not one of these people that believes stay in your lane. I'm not saying that. I think you can go in any lane you want, but you don't have to stay in your lane, but you sure as hell have the right to pick your lane. You don't have to stay in anybody's lane, but I can pick my lane, can I? I also think it's really easy for average guys to have courage politically. Average football players, average basketball players. You're average. You're replaceable. You got nothing to lose, bruh. Michael was representing Nike and McDonald's. He was the face of the NBA. It is easy for the garage band to lament corporate America. But what if you're the Eagles in your prime, or Jay-Z in your prime, or U2 in your prime, and you're grossing $175 million, and you're dealing with corporate entities? Michael was not just representing Michael. He was representing shoe brands, Nike, McDonald's, the league, the Bulls. He mattered more. So, yes, you have to consider that. Most people who are representing things beyond themselves, listen, I've had stuff written in my contract where I can't give political either activism or donations. I can't represent an ammunition company. I mean, I'm a sportscaster. Michael Jordan ran the NBA. And so the other part of this, though, is why did Tiger Woods get heat for certain things not being political? Phil Mickelson doesn't. We pick and choose. And I just think it's incredibly unfair to demand certain athletes have to choose a lane. I am not a stay-in-your-lane guy, but don't you have a right to choose the lane? And Michael Jordan commented on that, about not jumping in to politics at that point in his life.
I do commend Muhammad Ali for standing up for what he believed in. But I never thought of myself as an activist. I thought of myself as a basketball player. I wasn't a politician when I was playing my sport. You know, I was focused on my craft. Was that selfish? Probably. But that was my energy. That's where my energy was.
Outside of LeBron, how many NBA players are politically active? Let's start with almost none. A handful. Most of the older smart guy like Chris Paul's into it, kind of. But the reality is Steve Kerr, yes, his dad was a diplomat. Greg Popovich, in his 70s, different generation, was in the military. Why does Damian Lillard have to be great at anything other Damian Lillard wants to be great at? He's great at the hip-hop thing, and he's great at basketball. Good for him. And the other thing I find refreshing about Michael Jordan, he hasn't apologized for any of his actions. He hated Isaiah, and he's sticking to it. And he gambled a little, and he's not apologizing. And he's not politically active, and he's not walking it back. Everybody now is terrified of any pushback. And Michael's like, no, that's who I am. That's the lane I chose. And that one I didn't choose. And I'm not walking it back. You know, it was funny this weekend. I was had the great fortune to talk to a CEO. She's really talented. And we were talking about people in our business that have flourished. And she says, this CEO said, you know, the key to it really is have an opinion and go all the way with it. And be able to handle mean people on Twitter. That's Michael. I find it incredibly refreshing that he's not going to apologize on his political inactivism. He's not apologizing for hating Isaiah. He's not apologizing for gambling. Why should he? All lanes he chose. Good stuff today. Also, the most... I almost felt bad for Adidas and Converse. Adidas and Converse had Michael. And they whiffed. And when I watch that, there's something that needs to be said. And I think if you have a kid, if you have a teenager,